right, folks, we know it is all that anybody's talking about. It is Larry Sprinkle.
It's Larry Sprinkle.
And his amazing hair. No.
That's it.
It has its own YouTube page.
It really does. Its own Twitter handle, everything. But no, seriously, the forecast, because if you're new to Charlotte, you might think, why are people losing their mind? Well, this is the way we do it here. It's the way we do it here. Possibly an inch, 2 inches tomorrow.
It's been a couple years.
It's been a couple years.
What's the exact date of that, Chris?
It was January 29th, 2022.
Yes.
0.2 inches of snowfall. But that was actually, if you remember, maybe you do, it was back-to-back-to-back weekends that we had accumulating snowfall.
Every one of them.
Yeah.
I remember.
You do remember. It was like, wow, and then we
A
stopped.
lot of people like to see this. We got to go to I always tell people, if you want snow, this is the place to go. Boone, Blowing Rock, Banner Elk. As we pan the camera around, look at that. What a winter wonderland up there.
Beautiful.
That is
And
pretty,
we're still getting some snow showers this morning. Nothing to do with the big storm system headed our way, but you can see the streets covered in snow. Beautiful picture up there in Blowing Rock from our resort cams. So what's going to happen? You can see that storm system hundreds of miles away, getting organized out there over parts of even in New Mexico, over the panhandle of Texas, and all moving in our general direction. So we'll take a look at Futurecast. It kind of heads our way and eventually moves into the Atlanta area. Notice a lot from Charleston all the way down into the deep south. That's all rainfall. So we start to see an impact in our area as we head towards tomorrow afternoon through the evening. And we're kind of on a fine line here in the Charlotte area between kind of a mix of some sleet and snow, all snow north of here. That's why the significant amount of snow will be north of here. Not to say that we couldn't get some. It'll take a while to happen. This is going to be a quick mover. This is 4 a.m. Saturday morning. That's starting to move east of Interstate 77, and it's gone, and it is out of here at that time. But there's a big area that's covered in the advisories all the way from the Mid-South, from, say, Little Rock, Arkansas to Memphis, and that's now through Saturday. For us in the Carolinas, it's really early tomorrow morning through Saturday morning. The main time frame will be tomorrow afternoon all the way into Saturday morning. We'll take a look. The temperatures are going to stay below the freezing mark. This is noontime tomorrow, and everything is west of here, not even reaching the ground. It's going to take a while for this to actually reach the ground and cover the ground. So this is at 3 o'clock. I think the heaviest coverage of this will be between, say, 5 and 8 p.m. tomorrow night. And that means we'll start to see some accumulation, and then we're probably going to see a changeover early Saturday morning to some sleet and snow, and then that system is gone and out of here. But it does mean we'll have some impacts from what's going to be on the street. So, say 3 p.m. Friday to early Saturday morning, hazardous travel. I mean, this is going to stick on the roads, bridges, overpasses. So make sure you limit your travel time. Probably better if you could do that on Sunday rather than Saturday. So there you go. Estimated amounts, highest amounts in the mountains, a couple inches north of here. I would say from Charlotte south, maybe up to an inch.
Given how cold it's going to be, what does this mean? We see the forecast, and you've tracked it for us for Friday into Saturday morning. But what does this mean for Saturday during the day, Saturday night into Sunday morning again? Because I see the temperatures are not going to change much.
Everything is frozen over, so it does mean issues with travel anytime over the weekend, because we're not going to get above about 37 degrees Saturday, not much above low 40s on Sunday. That's going to be an issue, I think, traveling. And, Chris and I were talking about this. This is an evolving situation. And once you get into the Carolinas, we can see kind of a change over to the different type of precipitation. I mean, this could turn out to be a mainly icy situation from Charlotte south.
I truly think the way that this is going to be, and I see this all the time, that the 485 loop will have 3 different types of precipitation.
Crazy?
Yeah, so if you're in Matthews, I wouldn't be surprised if you see a little bit more of a freezing rain profile, more sleet, and less than an inch even. But then meanwhile, you could live in northwest Charlotte, close to Huntersville, and you could have close to that 1, 2, closer to 2 inches. And it was even this most recent event that was on December 3rd that we actually saw snow. Areas like in Matthews, you saw nothing. Meanwhile, I actually had a solid coating of snow when I live in northwest Charlotte. So I think that just across that loop in general, since Mecklenburg County is so tall, that you will see a big difference depending where you are.
And I will say one thing is kind of interesting. If you look at the long range weather, even discussion next week, because temperatures next Wednesday are going to be up Thursday. Even next week, there's another weather system headed our way. So you talked about that last time this happened. It was 2 in a row.
Well, it takes money to make money, and sometimes it takes snow to make snow. Because the reason why is you get caught up in a pattern. We've been way too warm over the last 3 seasons, and we haven't had the right setup. speaking of,
yes.
the ideal setup, the one that you do not want to see.
Tell us more. The recipe, really.
The recipe, really. So what Larry just showed you was a low-pressure system that originated over Texas, and then it moved pretty much due east. If you want the big one, the historic snowstorm, this is it. So the only difference between these two is where it originates and where it's coming from. When you have a low-pressure system starting in the Gulf right here, because usually they come out of nowhere, all of a sudden they quickly race to the north, thunderstorms down in Florida. When it kind of does this track through southern Georgia, just off the coast of the Carolinas, it's usually about 100 miles north and northwest of a low-pressure system in this type of setup during the winter that has the heaviest snow. It's at that point a high-pressure system filters in some of that colder air. This is the one that really wallops the mid-Atlantic states the hardest, and whenever we have those big snows, I'm talking about the 10, 12 inches, that's the setup that we have. And the reason why this setup isn't as notorious as the ones in previous past is because it's starting here and it doesn't have as much moisture. Now, the further south you go, it's going to be a decent rain, but where we're seeing the snow and the ice, not as much moisture that's going to equate to a much higher snow total or ice total. But we do have that northwesterly flow, the cold air in place. This is the coldest start to January that we've had since 2016. But as Larry showed you, you see this thing cutting across. We have that rain-snow line that's really close. If it was coming from this direction, that moisture would be driving in, and that would be a much higher chance for that snowfall. But speaking of the limiting factor, this is what I think is really going to cut things off, is the moisture. Anything in the blue is enough to provide snow, a decent ice fall, just depending where you are. But how quickly this cuts off is really going to be the big deal. So if we had that setup, we would be drinking from some of these greens and that beautiful teal color that you see there. Not beautiful conditions it creates. But notice this area of this beige color, that's dry air. Notice the time. 10 p.m. So that dry air looks like it's going to move in a little bit quicker. So what's really changed over the last couple of days is the duration. So whenever you're talking about how much snow you're going to see, it's not just the intensity of snow, it's how long it's going to snow for or how long you're going to see that ice. That's going to be the big difference. So as Larry had showed you for that most recent Futurecast, it's Friday evening that we have most of the accumulation. You could have some leftovers, maybe some lingering freezing rain heading into the morning, but it's really just going to be kind of the after, what's on the ground that affects our Saturday morning compared to Friday evening that things are actively happening and accumulating.
It's interesting. This thing has been changing. It can change again. And Chris talked about the formation. If you live in the Carolinas a long time, or live in Charlotte area, if you talk about a storm that comes out of Atlanta, you know it's going to be big.
Yeah.
This is not really coming out of Atlanta.
Thank goodness. We need a soft launch.
Yeah. Just a little soft launch.
We can build up to the big one if that's what you're
just a couple inches, not 12 inches.
Exactly.
And I want to make one point that we said is you actually want the snow compared to the ice. Because I would take 3 inches of snow over a tenth to a quarter inch of ice any single day.
Well, speaking of the cold, there's probably going to be times you have to go out in it because even before the snow or ice hit, it's really, really cold outside.
Yeah, it's freezing. And we've all heard from our parents, you want to make sure to bundle up so you don't catch a cold. It's so funny. We were in the morning meeting yesterday, and our assistant news director was like, what if I go out with wet hair? I'm gonna get a cold.
Yep.
So,
well, you've always heard that.
Yeah, you've always heard that, right? Don't do it. Yeah.
And you're like, no.
Yeah.
Let me verify.
Let me verify it. So here it is.
Our sources, the CDC, Johns Hopkins Medicine, the Mayo Clinic, and Virtua Health. A cold is a minor infection of the nose and throat that the Mayo Clinic and Virtua Health say you can catch through two primary methods. One is from airborne droplets spread when an infected person coughs or sneezes nearby. The other is when someone touches a contaminated surface and then touches their eyes, nose, or face. So we can verify that no, cold weather is not the cause of a cold. But here is why you usually see more sickness in the winter months. According to Johns Hopkins Medicine, when the weather is bad, we spend more time indoors surrounded by other people, which increases our chances of encountering a sick person. The CDC recommends washing your hands often and avoid touching your face. This will help prevent you from getting a cold. With your Verify, I'm Megan Brad.
All right, folks, so we have got you covered. Keep it here, both online and on air, as the snow comes in, ice comes in tomorrow. And keep in mind, it's going to be probably a full weekend thing, just not the storm part, but the actual effects, because the roads are going to be nasty. And people sometimes don't know how to drive.
Right.
You were mentioning that you haven't made a soup this season.
I was just going to say that.
This is a great soup. We're going to make a nice potato soup later on the weekend.
Hunker down.
I made a cauliflower soup.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
Because temperatures are not going to get warm. It's going to be bitterly cold all the way through the weekend. The warmest day of the next 7 is going to be Monday. It's going to be 48.
Ooh.
I'm sorry for sneering at your cauliflower soup.
I was just saying,
You both did. I'm like, you guys.
I don't know. Like, if you're trying to tempt me with a soup, I was like, ooh,
Sprinkle would
cauliflower.
probably like it. I bet he'd like it.
You would love it.
Yeah, he would.
It's and it's got garlic and onion, and it's very flavorful. But whatever.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. All right, hey, keep it here. We'll keep you safe. See you back here tomorrow.
Enjoy your cauliflower soup.
That's right.